Greetings, this is Carole again, and today I have tip number 13 for you. And this dowsing tip is basically how I prepare to do a session with a client. And so the very first thing that happens is I do find my pendulum, which is always nearby. And note that if you've gotten into dowsing, you're going to have a pendulum by the telephone, in the kitchen, everywhere. The second thing we need are charts. And I use actually 3 charts with the LifeWeaving Dowsing, research power chart, prism chart for diagnosis. I also add in the IM chart, which is from Brian Roberts' work with his book, Be Clear Now, and a nutrition chart that we're working on. When I use the charts, I keep them in a stack on my desk and work with them that way. I don't have a desk big enough, for one, and I find that as I work with them, if I'm moving from one chart to the next as directed by the system, I use that moment of going to the next chart to think about maybe what I've just found, to think about which way I should go next, what to look for next. So that's been helpful. And we keep them that way. The third thing I work with, because I do this professionally, is a worksheet. And it keeps track of the information that I'm finding, keeps track of who I'm working on so that I can go back to their previous worksheets as they come back. Let's see. The worksheet also holds the checklist for preparedness, which is important, and it's just a reminder. These things need to be clear before I work with a client. So I like having it on the worksheet itself. And the other thing about the worksheet that's excellent is that it tracks the statements that are being cleared. If you are doing life weaving, we are clearing a specific frequency, a specific set of words in a statement or a sentence or whatever, and looking for matching problems in the body in order to clear them, to counteract them. And the weaving part of life weaving is that you do indeed move from topic to topic to topic in the process of clearing. And so I like to put the statement on, write it down, so that when I'm all done with all the weaving part, I can go back to this worksheet and make sure that that original statement is now clear. That helps. The next thing I have by my desk where I work are reference books. And the one I use the most, used to use the most, not as much anymore, is the reference guide that goes with the life weaving charts. I've had it clipped and coil bound so I can use it. It lays flat. It's really good for reference work. But this book has information on every single thing on those charts, which is a lot. And I don't remember it all, even though I wrote the book. But it's handy if you need to know something to explain to a client. It's handy for looking up to say, well, I remember there's a T4, a T3, a T4 and a half, T7, what's the difference? And it's in this book. The other 2 books that I use a lot are by Louise Hay and Lisa Bourbeau. And both of these books talk about the metaphysical causes of diseases. And I do work a lot with people on the health issues, These books will give me emotional and mental reasons for a physical illness. I can actually go down through what's in the book, the whole paragraph. I just scan it very quickly. And as I keep my pendulum in a neutral swing on a neutral line, and I might come across a statement and the pendulum goes zip, it's offline, which means that needs cleared. So it's a great resource to figure out what next to do or what else can I do for a certain thing that's going on. The next thing that we need, I use a clearing prayer or an invocation when I work. And basically, the invocation on the chart, the power chart, is quite short. Let's see, right there is quite short, but it will set up the session, bringing in the white light, the I am presence, the violet flame, and getting the client prepared for the session. Sometimes, especially with a newer client, I'll do what I call the Ascension Clearing Prayer, and this is something that I've created that covers every part of the checklist for preparedness on the worksheet. And that way, I've been able to clear parts of the session just by saying the prayer, and it works nicely. You can also, while you're reading the prayer, I do it out loud. I, again, keep my pendulum in a neutral swing, and if I get to a point that says, as I stand before the universe, I release being guide or guardian angel to others and send them angels to take my place. The pendulum went off balance at that point, and that tells me that that person I'm working with is spending way too much energy helping others instead of themselves, and that I need to remind them this is not a good idea. So those are the prayers that I use. And then as I work on a client, during the session, we often will bring in new people, spouses, relatives, bosses, whatever. And instead of stopping and doing a complete prayer workup on them to make sure they're aligned, what I'll ask Spirit to do is just do a turbo clear, and which means apply all of that on that person right now. And I don't spend a lot of time testing to make sure they're as clear as the client, because normally we don't need to. They're out of the session, and that's about it. If they keep popping up, yeah, we do have to clear further. So in all of this, what we have is the other, also need to mention, when I pick up my pendulum, first thing, I have programmed it to do what in computer language is called a macro. So when I pick up that pendulum, I'm asking that white light surrounds me, surrounds the client, that we're connected by a white light tunnel for clear private communication spiritually. I want the room to be cleared. I want all of that to happen. And it's been programmed into my pendulum that that will happen. And so that is important as well. The final thing that I do in order to prepare for a client is my computer is usually open. During a session, quite often, if they come in and they've got a health problem, and you're not up to date on it, it's a strange malady and you barely heard of it. It helps to take a quick look on the computer, get an idea where you're focusing. It's like where the goalposts on what I'm looking for right now. And you start looking, and the computers will also give you like an instant list of every single item that supposedly can cause that problem health-wise. And high blood pressure has about 6 different causes. So you can go down that list with your pendulum, check, 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 see if any of them are positive. You can do it very quickly. That gives you yet another avenue to start researching. So computers can be good, plus sometimes a guardian angel comes up that's rarely heard of, and it's interesting to know why they came in to work with the people. So, dowsing tip number 13, how I prepare to work with a client. And it's just a really short process. I have a space where everything is just, I can just grab it and work with it. And it works for me. So hope this helps. Maybe this gave you some ideas for you. Have a good dowsing day, and we'll see you in our next tip.